Let's go drift, Dad.
Hey guys, I'm the Drifting Dad, and today I'm working on my FB RX7, getting it all prepped for the HyperFEST drift event on May 17th. Here I'm going to put the upper control arm in. You can see that I have to do some finagling to get this around, and that's the one drawback of this design. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I've got all the other arms in, so after that I'll do the panhard bar. So I got this rear bolt in, see that, and what I'm going to do to get this front bolt in, I'm going to have to jack up the front of the pumpkin and kind of line everything up. After much difficulty, now I have this started. I actually had to take this pivot out as well, so I'm just going to try to push everything back in, put the bolts in, and we'll have the rear end on. My first panhard bracket did not work out very well at all, so I'm actually going to do in the design somewhat a Techno Toy tuning panhard bar. So I'm using this lower Watts link bracket over here on the passenger side, and then I've got this bolt-on bracket here for the axle side, and I'm going to rotate this down and then have this bar here. Hopefully it's not going to be bent. Just got to clear this transmission. Basically pick the panhard and work like that. So they kind of run a similar setup on Mustangs. So I know hopefully this will work. Here's the panhard bar. You can see it's just a basic tube with some threaded bungs. So 3/4 inch rod ends. Let's see, that's the panhard mount that's going to clamp on. And use a big 3/4 inch grade A bolt. Here it is all mocked up. My concern is how low that lower mount hangs. Hopefully won't be an issue as far as hitting on things. But this is at full droop, so obviously at full bump it'll look a little different. So I got to reroute the brake line because I pretty much cut off all the tabs on the top of the housing up there on the tubes. So what I'm going to do is just kind of bend this around and then zip tie it to certain things, proper standoffs and stuff, so I don't have to reflare any lines. I mean, if worse comes to worse, I'll shorten it, but hopefully I won't have to. Notice how low my oil pan is, way below the subframe, and I actually have that engine mount there is cracked, kind of collapsing, so in order to prevent more damage to my oil pan, and I think that I want to fix some damage I have to the oil pan, I'm going to take the subframe out and build new engine mounts that are going to be higher, get the subframe or get the oil pan up a little bit, and notch it as well maybe. So these mounts here are just the stock mounts. They're rubber. Obviously the extra abuse from drifting is not good for them, so I'm making solid engine mounts. I'll show you how I'm going to do those. What I'm going to do is here I've got this support. I'm going to support the engine from the top so I can pull the engine mounts out and get the subframe off. See, now I have a gap. Used to have, the pan used to be sitting right on the subframe. I'm actually supporting the engine. Got both mounts loose. What I'm going to do at this point is pull the subframe So I just have to pull the little control arms off first and then pull the 4 bolts for the subframe. Got the subframe out. You can see here's some of the damage. It's hard to see in the video, but there's like little micro cracks starting to form, which I will go ahead and fix once I pull the pan off. You can actually see here, this engine mount just completely broke. That's the rubber that cracked. And here is the bottom of it. You can see the rubber just totally broke out. Here is the subframe. See here I have the 2 holes. The second hole here is the one I've drilled to move my engine back from the original position. It's definitely a good idea to do that. You can do it, see I did on both sides. It says to help installing it, which I just made this hole bigger, which I may, now it's out, kind of put a little slot in there. What I'm going to do here is cut the center section out, drop it down just a little bit maybe, so there's plenty of clearance for the engine. And I'll be building my new engine mounts. They're going to still bolt on and everything, but I'm going to just make a solid tube with a nut and a bolt welded in, so it makes it easier to install. What I've done here is taken the subframe and bolted it back in, and what I'm going to do here is now move the engine. You can see it's a little uneven. I'm going to raise it up to where I want it to be. I'm also going to have to raise the transmission up as well, and once it's in the position I like, I'm going to go ahead and right there I'm going to measure how tall I need to make my engine mounts, and then I'll show you. There's kind of like basically round tube with a bolt and a nut welded in, and they're going to be nice and solid, keep the engine where it needs to be. So I've got the subframe all set and the engine set where I like it to be. I cut these 2 little tubes. These are like 1.5 or 1.25. I think 1.25 tubing, DOM. Just stuff I had lying around. They're 2 inches tall, and they will fit in right between the subframe and the motor mounts. Here you go. There's that space, and I'll put that tube in there. So it kind of sits in there. We will do some, I'm going to add, it'll have some space taken up, but it should fit pretty nicely in there when we're all done. Another thing I'll do is make some shims so I can fine tune the motor height once everything's bolted in. Hey guys, thank you for all the support so far. I'm going to be keeping busy with finishing up the car for HyperFEST. Hopefully I'll be able to get some test driving in a few days. And I'll definitely be on the lookout for another video next week as well, kind of finishing up the HyperFEST and HyperFEST prep. And also I think me and Eric are going to do a nice video on the packing and preparation that you should be doing when you're going on a drift event, and especially like a multi-day drift event like we're going on. So thank you guys for all the support, and stay tuned.